How do I speak about me? Well, there is a word that is very useful for me. It was a North American volunteer who has been in my place who told me, "Oh, you are a polymath." So, and it is a very useful word. In Portuguese, they don't use it. The only Portuguese I met that know about this word, it was not properly polymath, but polymathis. So I feel comfortable in different subjects. I discovered macrobiotic when I was 20 and 73. So I'm almost for 50 years that I do macrobiotic. And I think that I'm still alive and kicking because of this. I'm very grateful to macrobiotic. Even if I don't have a normal path of teaching and cooking, I used to give classes after I came from Chiantal in 86, but I never had a restaurant, even if I've been a chef in a vegetarian restaurant in Portugal. But I always earned my money doing other things that were well paid and allowed me to study because I really love to study. So I've been a fashion model for during the 70s and 80s. During the 80s, I've been a fashion journalist. And then I became a naturopath. I've been in politics since very young. I decided to how to change the laws about women when I was 14. And when I was 20, I was in a commission in one of the main parties in Portugal during the revolution, redoing the laws. Me, that was studying medicine, and all the others were very famous and powerful lawyers in Portugal. But I had ideas and they were more not so creative as I am. So it was in this time that I discovered also, I already had macrobiotics before, it was in 73, and the revolution was in 74. And me and my boyfriend put macrobiotics in the Association of Medical Students. What it has grown a lot since then. And there is a huge department in the university restaurant with macrobiotic food that is more vegetarian than macrobiotic, but they name it as macrobiotic nowadays. I've been there some years ago. I was very, very glad to see how it grew. I heard, but before people were not students, could not go there. And now,
so tell me, Maria, why do you say that yin and yang is the best tool?
Because we are always living in a very difficult time. There is lots of challenges. We don't know how to deal with this. And I'm going to share my experience because I used yin and yang all my life, because I had a very adventurous life. So I hope I can share this. I ask you to make questions because Mercury is retrograding. Usually there is problems with communication. Today, I have a new kitchen and they finished it yesterday. So my house is not very well, and we had electricity problems this morning, but they were doing works in the garden. I have a how do you say, edible forest garden that comes from permaculture. I have cabbages and lots of vegetables and greens, and now I can eat all the carrot with the greens and the root. So shall we start, or you have some other question?
Let's go.
Okay. So my questions, if you don't understand anything, something, because Mercury retrograding, usually we talk about this and people understand that. So consider this. Well, for me, yin and yang is the best surviving tool in any time, but in this interesting time, still better. How does it move? I have to find the, there. There. Well, we are living in interesting times. To live in interesting time, it's an Oriental curse, as you know. And we are really in a very deep change, and we don't know very well what is happening. But anyway, this is a good reference. The way we see the world around us is the way we are. So this is mirroring ourselves. This is a good reference to live. We are crossing a mystic swamp full of lies and illusions. And well, how do you feel about it? I feel quite confused all the time. I never felt such uncertainty. Even if I crossed the one revolution, I have a very adventurous life, but I had more references in that time, safe reference that we have now. Now it's something that I feel that I should talk about. That is how to deal with things around us. I put lots of ideas and experience in standby, because we never know if that thing there is a rock very strong and trustful, where we can step on safely, or if it is a treacherous trunk that will roll if we step on it, or if it is an alligator, a dreadful alligator that will eat us if we step on it. So those are my balls that I love them to do exercise. They are so beautiful. I've shared it with you. So everything contains yin and yang. This is, as you can see, everybody knows, I'm sure, this symbol. And any diameter we do there in that cycle has always black and white. If there is a lot of white, there will be also lots of black. But there is always a certain amount, a balanced amount of black and white. I'm not very good about Occidental philosophy. I'm studying with a good professor, but I feel that since 16th century, our philosophers are a disaster. And as I am macrobiotic, I always connect ideas with the people. So if we study the biography of the philosophers, they are almost everybody. They are so disastrous. And we cannot, and there is people say, oh, you cannot evaluate the ideas by the kind of life the philosopher had. And this is really wrong, because if we know we know this very well. The ideas are segregated by a brain in a body with certain diseases and balance, and so if the philosopher was a disaster in his life, there is guys that are considered that they would have children and put them in in an well, that house for orphans. Others would live from the money of the friends, and they were always sick, and one who was always with pimples that has pus, and he could not sit down, and he was dead from heart attack. But anyway, he could not sit down for several years. We cannot consider ideas that come from such a body. Okay, and Immanuel Kant and influenced a lot the ideas of the philosophers after it. And so they have a very arrogant attitude that is, now I discovered something that nobody else had discovered before. So I feel that there is knowledge since the beginning of time, and we are very happy if we know it, and we can take can deal efficiently with it, like yin and yang. So yin and yang are an essential tool as a pattern we can use anytime and anywhere in this trend of no sense but dogmatic scientificism made of chaotic shrapnels. To know how to deal with yin and yang is vital. Now, any doubt? Okay. This is an experience, as you know, I'm in this since almost 50 years ago. And when we don't know the Tao, rivers are rivers and trees are trees. When we are studying the Tao, nothing is what it looks like. Rivers are not rivers and trees are not trees. When we know the Tao, a river is just a river and a tree is just a tree. From my experience, I have a friend, a macrobiotic friend, who is very skilled in traditional Chinese medicine. It's amazing. He heals incredible things. But when we talk about good and bad, he says, there is no good and bad, you see? And I said, but why? And he says, because good is transformed in bad and bad is transformed in good. Okay, so there is no night and day because it becomes the other. And then he stares on me without saying anything and repeats the same. There is no good or bad. Okay. I'm surprised that there are so many people stuck in studying the Tao and not arriving to the knowing the Tao. From my experience, it's very easy to deal with yin and yang, and I'm not, well, I used to say that we only domain any subject if we can explain it to a 8-year-old kid. I like very much to speak to 8-year-old kids. So I'm going to talk a little about it. Well, yin and yang is in everywhere, the complementary opposites that are together in the Tao. The Tao is everything and nothing. What existed, what will exist, what never existed. So what will never exist. So it's everything. It's easier. There is people say Tao we cannot talk about. Okay, it's a point of view. We can. There is people talking about the Tao for ages, and I have other things to do more interesting than to talk about the Tao. I want how to deal with. So here is the king and queen thrones of Portugal, the principle of feminine power and masculine power. The complementary opposites come to us in very different ways, light and darkness, but also day and night, or warmness and coldness, etc. Also in colors in black and white, but also violet and yellow, or green and red, or orange and blue. And lots of complementary colors we can have, but those are the main. We can also be a black or a white sheep, but to be a black sheep is also someone who is still a sheep. Well, what's the difference of to be a sheep or to be my E in U? I'm a Portuguese person. For me, it's very difficult to do the difference from E and U. So I'm talking about those animals, not the floating boat. So black and white sheep, a black sheep is still referring to the herd, is not himself. When we refer to the universe and refer to ourselves, we are not anymore a sheep. So be unique, be different, but be yourself, be faithful to yourself. Here I talk about to be in forefront because I lived all my life in forefront, but it's my characteristic. I'm a fashion woman. The mainstream culture is a dying culture, like any culture that arrives to the streets. Well, this is my experience in fashion world. When a fashion is in shops and arrives to the street, is already moribund. So soon it will have the final gasp for its last breath before death. So yin and yang always. And soon any mainstream culture will be that. These are the laws of order of universe I really like. This is from a book of Herman Ayara. I met Ayara just once in my life, but it was very, very important. With Michio Kushi, I've been quite often. I studied a lot with him. And with Tomio Kikuchi a little, but he has very good books, but in Portuguese. And I don't know, well, I know where they are. They are in a box, the Michio Kushi books. So I have this from Herman Ayara. 7 laws of order universe. That which has a beginning as an end. Here he speaks about Buddha, Christ, Lao Tse. I like very much Lao Tse and the Tao Te Ching, but I got one only good translation from Tao Te Ching. I have several books and one only good translation. It's very important to find good translations from anything. So the truth is everything changes. In Portugal, we have well, it's our main poet. It's like Shakespeare for UK. That is Luís de Camões. And he says, we live in a world made of change. So here we have the front and back law. What has a front has a back. So if we are very good, we have a very dark side behind. And usually people who has very lots of light has also lots of shade behind. So we have to deal with both sides of us and love, including ourselves. Now, the law of balance, the greater the front, the greater the back. If something is told to you that is a holy thing or a holy concept, because we are in concept world, usually has a very dark side behind. So be careful. And there is a kind of people that are the preverse, who are very good at dealing with manipulating the good and bad through this law of balance. Non-identity law, in this world, nothing is identical. So I want to be unique, and life is, we are happy and feel fulfillment when we fulfill our dharma. In astrology, it's very easy to see where is the dharma. And it's very interesting that if there is 2 points in an astrological chart where we see the past lives or the innate knowledge we come with, and we feel very comfortable when we meet someone who has planets or something similar near this point, is the south point. But usually those persons bring disaster to our life, because we shouldn't stay in the past. We shouldn't stay. We already know that. Now we have to discover the south, the north node. So when in the north node, that is a point in the astrological chart, is this is a line, the north and south node, that comes from the intersection of the plane, the orbit of Earth and Moon and Sun. No, Moon. So it's Earth and Moon. So be unique, be yourself, and it is the only way to live. And it's through astrology, it's easy to find this point. And usually we feel, oh, that's it. I've always felt, but there is so many people influencing us, circumstances influencing us. When I do consultations and I tell people, you see, you should do this and that because this is your mission on earth. I say, oh, I always felt like that, but nobody would say that is okay. Okay, that's their problem. You have to be yourself. So here the complementary antagonisms, because, for example, this is a very useful tip. There's the good boys and good girls trying always to be good and to please and things like this. Usually these people are a magnet to the bad guys or the bad girls, because they don't leave both sides, the good and bad side in them. So so be good and be bad. The best way to use our bad side is to impose boundaries, impose our limits, and defend them. So there is always a good way to do things. All antagonisms can be classified as two yin and yang. Well, this we know about already. For the totality is also yin and yang, is also men and women, is all cold and warms. It's day and night. Is you know all these pairs. of opponents. Yin and yang are the two arms of infinity, absolute oneness, God, the infinite pure experience, or well, there is lots of other ways to talk about this. Any question? May I continue?
Yes, I wonder if you could give us some ideas of how to apply yin and yang in our daily life.
We will see. Okay. We are in 11. I have 30. How long?
Oh, another 15 minutes.
Okay, I'm going. Now, another form of yin and yang, it's a fashionable diet, a trendy diet that is alkaline and acid, and what you should eat and all these things. But thanks God, we have macrobiotics. That is, for me, until now, is the best way of live. This is very, very interesting. Characteristic tendencies of yin foods are rich in potassium. The yang foods are rich in sodium. They grow well in warm or hot climates. They grow, the yang, they grow in cold and cool places. They grow fast, the yang grow slowly. The yin grow bigger, the yang, well, you know this. Do you want I read all of this or?
No.
No, okay. For me, what was very interesting here is to grow sideways under the ground, the yin, and the yang grow sideways on top of the ground. That is very interesting. Healthy, now this is a very good reference for nowadays because, for example, I studied medicine in the allopathic and galenic medicine, and we were always studying only about disease and anatomy. Nobody knows about healthy people, and they say nobody is healthy. They just were not enoughly tested. So this is a great reference that we need. How is healthy people? Well, healthy people is never angry, appreciates everything with great gratitude. Gratitude is very important in our life, and is the best way is to live with gratitude. They are never afraid. He never says I'm tired or I'm lost. I feel quite lost during this funny time we are crossing, those interesting times. He appreciates any food, even distasteful cooking. He appreciates also any circumstances of life. He sleeps deeply without dreams. 4 to 5 hours is enough. He never forgets, especially debts and kindness received. This is beautiful. Now about the order of universe, this is so important nowadays. He does not lie in order to protect himself. He is accurate and punctual. He never meets a man he doesn't like. This I'm going to do. Sometimes I, I do an effort. He never doubts that what others says. I remember Michio Kushi talking about the Indians in North America who were maize eaters or corn eaters. So you would never distrust, you would believe everything the white man would say. And it was out of their world, someone who lies. And Michio said we should have a little of flour so we don't trust so much the others. He wants to live to find the eternal highest value of life. He's most happy when he finds the order of universe in his daily life and in small, innoticeable things. He does not spend his life for earning money, but only for what he really wants to do. He spends his whole life passing into others the miracle of life, the order of universe. About to earn money, in astrology is very interesting because values and earning money depends on the quality of our Venus. And people who doesn't feel loved or doesn't know how to love, they would want to earn money to compensate it. Well, yin and yang interacting is a very dynamic phenomenon and the key for a dynamic flow. Here, the ocean against the sand. Then here, more soft, the day becomes night. Well, about the reality, that is something that nowadays is very important also to talk about, because those Kantisms says that everything is relative, that there is no reality, there is only our perception of it, no, our perception, because the reality doesn't exist, so there is no it. Without those concepts, we become too confused and vulnerable. So I'm going to talk a little more about good and evil as opponents, complementary opponents, because I feel it's very, very important nowadays. To live, we need to be able to deal with the absolute good and the absolute evil. Get out of mediocrity. Mediocrity is when we don't consider the absolute evil and the absolute good. We live in the medium. Oh, it cannot be true. It's too bad to be true or too good to be true. In reality, nothing is too good or too bad to be true. Stop complaining, but have courage to include in life your inexorable Pluto, the planet, a planet for power, also the planet of transformation. The real healing is through Pluto, because Pluto is like a volcano that goes deep, cleans from the bottom of the earth, and then will melt everything, and other beautiful crystals and everything will be rebuilt on it. I like very much the phoenix as an example of a good kind of healing. Macrobiotic is very, very plutonic, is a very good quality as a healing method, because it cleans and rebuilds. And the phoenix is reborn from her own ashes, more beautiful and more powerful. And we have always good and bad in ourselves. So be in peace with ourselves. This is about reality. The reality is a container with water until a certain amount. What we can choose is only to see it as half full or half empty. Another thing that belongs only to the good is beauty, and beauty is in beauty there is symmetry. I've been in fine art school, and well, Picasso and all those kinky guys were a strong influence in that time. And we were always doing things that were not symmetric. And I have to do a great effort to do symmetric things because of the school I have been. Beauty donates energy to us, is a way of feeding us, well made with love by happy artists. The bad art, I'm an artist, so I deal a lot with artists, and they say, oh, the art should punch the spectator in his stomach. And I said, but why? I don't want it. I don't want to be hurt in my stomach by art. Anything that is shocking and causes suffering belongs to the bad. So, and usually the tormented artist also produces bad quality art, bad vibrational quality art. It can be a good technician, but the vibration is always a segregation of our body, our filter, our body, physical bodies, our filter to the way we understand everything and we feel everything. So our physical body is our temple, is very important. We are spirits dealing with the physical experience, material experience. So it's very important that we respect the physical world and keep our feet on the ground with no sneakers and plastic soles in our shoes, for example.
So I'm going to interrupt you here and just see if we have some questions, because we just have a few minutes left, and we'll see if we can get some questions. We have Sao, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Rolo, who just came in, and maybe he is Portuguese, maybe someone that you know.
Yeah, with this name, maybe
that's
we know one another.
SAO. Right. So I wanted to give Sao a chance to ask questions along with anybody else who wants to come in.
With pleasure.
So let me go just to the chat room and see. Hold on, I just have to change my view here 1 second. Okay, so let's ask, I can appeal to Karin or to Jane or to Carolyn or to Paula, anybody, Dory, anybody who's here. Do you or anyone have a sense that you understand somewhat yin and yang, enough that you can use it, enough that you can, I mean, we started off this presentation saying it's the best tool. And so we're going kind of here and there and around with this talk. And I wonder if we have anybody, this is a chance to ask some questions. What is yin and yang? Or how do I use it? Or what? So
yin and yang is may I?
Please.
So yin and yang are the two opponents that are in everything. Everything is the Tao. So we have to deal with it. That is, I'm doing examples.
And so can you give examples, specific uses of how you use yin and yang in your daily life?
For example, here on the left of this slide, this is one method I use when we balance the evil and the good inside of ourselves. Any problem, this is incredibly efficient to any kind of problem. So this, have you heard about systemic constellations? Each toy of in this picture is a part of ourselves, and then we balance it. It's a kind of quantic jump. I cannot explain. I could more than this about this. But for example, here it was my leg when I fried my leg 7 years ago, and I was in the pond because I jumped to the pond with fish because to stop frying the leg. And I knew that, I was sure that this would be good. But in that time was very bad. I was yelling awfully.
So let's talk about frying in terms of cooking. How can you apply yin and yang in the kitchen?
So in and yang, it depends on the objective you want. Frying
Okay.
Frying is to evaporate the water from the food. So it yangizes, has also the energy of heart, because it's like this. And what do you want to tell more?
Well, I'm just
very
looking
synthetic. I'm very synthetic. I don't see much. This is poorly made art. That is poorly made. Before it was a well done art, and usually these artists are unhappy. Is the suffering artist that makes ugly things, and the happy artist that makes beautiful things, and that enjoys what is doing. Do you see the opponents here?
And what is the picture on the left? Oh, here we go. This is better. Oh, this is your
picture on the left
leg?
is that method, systemic constellations. And it works for any kind of problem to make peace inside of ourselves. And each of these toys, is a representative of a part of us. For example, the black, the evil could be a disease, but could be also the mother-in-law or whatever on the next or something. And then we put other things, other components of the world of the person. And there is a process that is not easy to explain. And usually the people, for example, some days after, 5 days after, would call me and say, oh, my ex is so sweet now. I don't know what to have done, but it's wonderful. So, but it's self-pure. It's not me that bling. It's I help in self-cure.
So we have about just a minute or so left, and I'd like to finish with this question that we received. When you personally use yin and yang, do you need to focus very carefully, or is it something that just is intuitive?
It's something that is in everywhere all the time. The key is this: there is opponents, and we are always knowing that the opponent will come. For me, it's the way I live with yin and yang. For example, this was the worst experience that I had in my life, with lots of pain, but I had no pills at all. I healed myself at home with macrobiotic food and some little other things, everything natural. And it was a great challenge, but I learned a lot and I changed a lot, because before I was very theoretical. Now I'm very practical. Here are the utopias that become dystopias. The other pair of yin and yang. And this is political diets. When I was during the revolution in 74, there were a manifestation, and one of the words that were yelled, order, words of order, those slogans that people yell in manifestations, it was beef steaks for everybody. 74. And I remember an uncle during a family meeting saying, now the order is to make eggs and poultry available for everybody. And nowadays we have the opponent of this time, that are those vegan diets. So be careful. We have always the back and front.
So Maria, we have a wonderful question. I'm going to stop you here just because of time. And we have a wonderful comment here by Karen, who says, When I understand or relate to people, to someone on a using yin and yang, I can relate and feel more compassion, and that's a beautiful way to
Beautiful,
use yin and
beautiful.
yang. Very nice.
But this is
Yeah.
something that I'm going to, now I'm interested, that is breatharianism, because we talk too much and we deal too much with food.
So if you would like to send me your presentation, I see you've worked very hard
There
on
is
it.
one only left. So
Oh,
eat
okay.
wild food, I do a lot, walk barefoot and flow with the order of universe. Now, the last recommendation from my experience is trust what you feel and be grateful. Set your boundaries, find your own values, set strong roots with your past, honor your ancestors, bless your children, grow into your future, search for the truth, be a philosopher. Nowadays, what is named progress usually is just degeneration, but we are safe because we know yin and yang. And something I feel I would do this with Francisco Veratoge, because we were we were together, but not very close, but we would talk often. And I would talk to Francisco and say, now we are needing a council of elders council in English. Usually you would do this, what I suggest, and things would appear made. He was very good in it. So I feel that we need an elders council in the macrobiotic movement. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Yes, you've done quite a presentation there, quite a job. So it remains for me just to thank you. And we are going to have a chat when we finish the entire forum today. We still have a few more speakers, and then we'll have a chat. So we'll see if yin and yang comes up in our conversation. Meanwhile, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria Afonso.
Olá, Paula.
Olá.